Season 2 of the new Bronx Edulution. We've got something great in store for you. I'm Timothy Coleman, Director of Education for BronxNet and your host for the show. Our rich history and culture are rediscovered through the stories of community members who take pride in our borough while sharing their journey towards success. Get ready to be uplifted and entertained. Me and the crew welcome you to the brand new Bronx Edulution.
What's up, Boogie Down? I'm Timothy Stone Dancer Coleman, Director of Education here at BronxNet, as well as your host for the Bronx Edulution. Thank you so much for coming back and joining us for another episode. Today, we're going to be speaking about purpose. Purpose is defined as the reason why we do what we do. And the cool thing about purpose is that whether you're just starting out on your journey of trying to find what job you might be interested in, or what trade is like the most important thing to you, or whether you're super successful and you're in a career, but you just don't feel like you're fully connected to it anymore, your purpose can change. It doesn't always stay the same throughout your entire life. Now, I've run across, and I'm sure maybe you have as well, a lot of people who have said, well, I don't really know why I'm on the earth. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing with myself. This is perfectly okay. I think at the end of every day, we should all be looking at ourselves and doing a moment of reflection to think about what have we done that is going to help those around us, that is going to support our community, that is going to build up other people, as well as what are the things we've done during the day that have brought us peace and that have brought us joy. I know in my own life, I was really lucky to have parents that were extremely purposeful. As I've shared with you guys before, my father was in the military, and once he retired, he started a nonprofit working in the community, and he worked that job for 30 years. My mother was the pastor of our church, extremely purposeful. So I grew up in a family that was really committed to service and really committed to making sure that other people understood their path and the things that were important to them. So what I would say from all of that is, as a young child, I had a privilege of testing out a lot of different career pathways and figuring out for myself where I really felt solid, where I really felt like I was giving and receiving in equal proportions, which is also another thing that throughout life doesn't always happen. Sometimes you're a giver and you just give, and you wind up feeling super empty on the inside. And then there are other people that we see on television that are all take, and they're not really doing anything to give back, to support others, to uplift the community. For me, I found my purpose in community service and being a servant to those who may have it worse than I had it. And as I learned more and as I grew my skill set, as I developed my gifts, it was an easy thing for me to kind of turn that around and say, okay, if this happened for me, then this is something that I would like to do for other people. And it isn't about convincing someone to follow the same path that you followed. It's about allowing people to ask themselves the right questions so that along the way, they can start to answer their own questions. Have you ever been in a situation where someone comes to you and, they really are looking more for a sounding board? And they say something to you and you jump on top of it. And then all of a sudden it's, well, I've been in that situation. You should do it like this, and like this. And the person might take that advice, they might take that feedback, and they go about trying to implement all of your choices in their lives, and it runs into just a train crash, right? The better way, I feel, in a spirit of mentorship, is to ask more questions than you are giving advice. Sometimes people just need to know, A, that they've been listened to and that they've been heard. And then other times people are really looking for more of an opportunity to just see what did you do in your own life that worked for you so that they can translate it into how things work for them. In the path of finding purpose, there is no one way to get there. There are a lot of people who never graduated from college and now they're billionaires. There are a lot of people who went to college and they are living lives where they don't feel as successful as they wanted to be initially. All of that is totally fine, as long as you are humble enough and open enough to allow yourself a chance to redirect. There's nothing that says it's wrong for you to say, I started this career, I went to college for XYZ, and now I feel like I'm really like growing into myself, and I feel like now I really want to be able to do this other particular thing. That's totally fine. That's all your path. That's all of the things that we all go through as humans as we seek to find our actual true purpose. So when we come back in our next section, we're going to do some interviewing with an amazing guest and talk about how she found her path, how she walks in her purpose to feel great about herself every day, but to also give back to her community. We'll be right back.
The Bronx Edulution. We are Bronx Strong.
What's up, Boogie Down? This is Timothy. Thank you so much for coming back and staying with us. I really appreciate it. Every week, as you know, if you follow our show, we have the amazing opportunity to interview the talent that works here behind the scenes, sometimes in front of the scenes, sometimes all over the scenes at BronxNet. And I'm really pleased today to have a young lady with me who is a Bronx born and raised native. Her name is Brittany Aubain. Please help me in welcoming Brittany to our show. Welcome, Brittany.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to get to know more about you and for our audience to get a chance to see maybe some things that they don't know about you if they've watched some of the other things that you've done on BronxNet. So I want to start for the audience and be really simple about what do you do here at BronxNet and how did you arrive at that position?
Yeah, so currently I am a reporter, I do some producing, and then I am the fill-in host as well for some of our shows. And I got to BronxNet, I want to say about 2 years ago for counting my internship.
Okay.
I was an intern from I was going into my junior year that summer. So I was in between sophomore and junior year. So I was an intern here. I learned from Darissa and did some packages. I got to shadow some people. And then I figured, okay, well, my time is up. Go back to school, you know. I'm a junior in college. You got 2 years left. And so a few months later, unfortunately, I got laid off from a job that I was doing. I was also doing social media management at the time. I got laid off. And about a month later, I got an email saying, hi, like, we're hiring. Do you want to interview? And so
great.
I did it. I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm struggling to find a job right now. You know, it was Q4. It's not always the easiest time to find a new job. And so I interviewed, I thought nothing of it, and then a week later, I'm home and I'm like, I get the call and they're like, hey, like, we want to hire you. So I've been here ever since.
That's really great. All right, so since this is Edulution, right, everything becomes like a teachable moment.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, what is a package? What does that mean? You create packages. What goes into that?
Yeah, so a package is that 1.5 to 2 minute news story. And for television, you know, if you're looking at print, it's probably going to be a full feature or it's going to be a half a page. For TV, you get about 1.5 to 2 minutes to tell a full story, start to finish, with your quotes and your sound bites and everything that goes into it. But, you know, when you sit down and you watch the news at night, that 2 minute story is what the package is.
Whew, that's a lot. That's a lot that goes in because you have to squeeze so much information and get down to only what's really important.
Right, and the funny thing is because I also do a lot of editorial work as well, and so jumping from editorial to TV was insane because with editorial, you want to create this whole story, set this whole scene, do the 400, 500, 600 words, and then you get to TV and it's like, you got 1.5 minutes, go.
All right. Well, I have seen some of your work and I think you're super successful, so thank you for all of the contributions that you continue to make to BronxNet. I think it's really important for other Bronx born and raised especially females, but young people in general, to see that an internship can actually lead you to an entire career path, which I think is really powerful. So let's backtrack now. Now that we know what you do here at BronxNet, where are you from? Or, you know, what is some of your family background and what does family mean to you?
Yeah, so I, you know, born and raised in the Bronx. Puerto Rican mom to a French dad. My mom was born in Puerto Rico. She came here when she was about 4 years old. She lived all over, you know, from North Carolina and then all over the Bronx. My dad, same thing, Bronx born and raised, so here I am in the Bronx. So when it comes to family dynamics, my father was a city worker. He worked for the MTA. My mom was a stay-at-home mom and a caretaker, which I really think helped me in developing, and growing up. But family to me is so important. My family was my biggest supporters going through everything, through high school, college. They really pushed me to be where I am today. And I am the first in my family or in my household to have a bachelor's degree. So to me, that was amazing.
Bronx. All right. Yay for mom and dad.
Yes.
And I always congratulate mom and dad when their children make it through college, because that is not a solo project. That is a whole family situation. Thank you to my own mom and dad for sacrificing and allowing me to move from Nebraska to New York. Now back to Brittany. So let's go to, so I understand your family makeup. Now, we've been talking about purpose, right? And we've been talking about how you could be at any stage of your life and find a new purpose or reimagine your purpose. What does that word mean to you, and how has that helped you move forward in life towards your goals, your dreams, your vision?
When I think of purpose, I always think of intention. What is my intention with everything that I'm doing?
That's good.
And I feel like in a way that really helped me in my career because, as we spoke earlier, entertainment, pop culture, that's my thing, but it also becomes a slippery slope because sometimes it could be very tabloidy and very, exploiting people and exploiting emotions and feelings and all of that. So the more I grew in this career, the more that I learned, like, what is my intention with telling this story? If it's something that's not going to make somebody feel something, and if it's something that's not important, why do it? Specifically in this job,
Yeah.
we cover a lot of things that are sometimes very hard to watch and hard to, stomach.
Yeah, and hard to actually share with your family, right? Because I think for BronxNet, a lot of our audience is multi-generational. So you're not just speaking to kids, you're not just speaking to the parents, you might have grandparents, you might several generations in the family watching a show at the same time. So how do you put together a package? How do you put together a show idea that might have, more than one genre of viewer?
So for me, I always think about, simple is best. And that was something that I learned coming into on my own. Because I remember I first started my first shoot, I came with like all these questions and like being so complex. But what I noticed was when you ask a complex question, you're going to get a complex answer.
Right.
And with TV, you only get 10 seconds to give that soundbite, right? So sometimes then I would go through my sound bites and I'm like, but you don't understand this if it's not in the full context. And I can't put a minute soundbite in there.
Right.
So I really learned the simple, the better. And then I think also I've learned to kind of make it my own and make it my own style. Of course, if it's something more serious, I'm not like throwing puns in there. Like I'm not doing that.
Right, it's appropriate.
But,
Right.
But for when I'm doing stories that it's like, hey, these are things I pitched, maybe something in my niche, I always like to keep it very lighthearted, very playful, very fun, bring in references and all of that to kind of make it where, like you mentioned, multi-generational, where maybe if one person doesn't pick up a reference, somebody else will. And
Right.
so, make it for the whole family.
Right. And it's not always easy,
No.
right? I mean, like, when you step into something and you have the responsibility, right? It's like you have a huge responsibility to share these stories. One of the things I really want to tune into is, and I really respect you for this, is that you just said something a minute ago, and I want to make sure everybody caught it, is that you are not purposefully doing things to make people feel bad. You are sharing stories and educating the community on a specific topic, but it's not from necessarily an I gotcha perspective. How did you arrive at that? Why is that important to you?
Yeah, so for me, and going back to working in entertainment, we've seen so many stories that are tragic, The first one that I always think of, I was a freshman in college, is when Kobe Bryant passed away. And the news outlets were over and over and over again retracting different stories, and it's, oh no, it's his whole family, no, it's just him, no, it's just the, and like, this is somebody's real life happening in the moment, and we're just playing a game of, well, I got it first, and now your information is wrong, and now you're just, it's heartbreaking to a family.
That's
and
right.
so and I remember my very first story, it was like a Christmas tree lighting. So I'm thinking it's lighthearted, it's fun. I get there and they're like, well, this is more of a memorial for homicide victims. So that was a 180 for me. And I remember in that moment being like, how do I convey this story without it being, not, without exploiting somebody,
Right.
I've been to stories where there's people crying and there's, it's sad, it's tragic.
Right.
But the last thing I ever want to do is shove the camera in somebody's face.
Right.
So for me, the way I'm always very open and I love to communicate with people. And it's like, hey, if you don't feel comfortable at any point in this, if you do not feel comfortable, you can stop. We will put the camera down. I am not somebody which I don't know, maybe doesn't make the best person for the news business, but I am not somebody that if they're like having a tragic moment, I can't just throw a camera in their face. To me, because you think about moments in your life that you go through,
right.
You don't want a camera in your face.
That's
you want
right.
to be left alone. You want it to be personal.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So what I want to do is say, I pray for your career that you are always in a space to be respected and heard, and that the integrity, like this is the word that's like ringing in my head to the point where I feel like I'm gonna just fall off this chair. Like you are so full of integrity, and I think there are a lot of us out here who are, you know, I always say I love to be on the couch with my hand in a bag of chips, just checking out what's going on. Like there are a lot of us, you know, potato chip eaters who really want to see more integrity in the way that shows are being explained, given, fed to us, however you want to look at it, because we all have several other stations that we could flip to see the other side of that, right? So I appreciate that, you know, you're holding true to what it is. And, you know, one thing that my mother always says to me is your gifts will make room for you. Right? And that means when you have integrity, when you are walking in your purpose, when you are utilizing your gifts to like make your way through life, the space will be created for you. So I firmly believe that you're going to have a fantastic career with integrity, doing the things that are important to you and also important to the audience, right? So with that in mind, right, I know I'd love to talk to you forever, but as we wrap this up, I want to know, what is your ultimate vision for yourself? Where do you see yourself in another 5 to 10 years, right? And it's not like I'm going to tell you right now, take away all that, well, but, you know, maybe they won't like it, maybe they won't. And no, they're going to love it. They're going to accept you. Where are you going? What's next?
Well, thank you for that. And so for me, I always say what's next for me is my ultimate goal. I want to do red carpet corresponding. I want to be a TV host. I mean, if you look at shows like The Real and The View and all that, I would love to kind of go and sit on one of those panels. And I always say for me, the end goal is to be an Emmy-winning TV host.
Period. Okay, that's the mic drop, people. All right, it might be a little lavalier mic that we've taped to ourselves, but it just still fell on the floor. Brittany, thank you so much for joining us today on Edulution. I really appreciate you. I you know, thank you because I know that you're also super busy. So taking the time out to just come to our show is really important to me, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, so everybody, we'll be right back right after this break.
We all know what it's like to feel alone. But it just takes one new connection.
Want to get out of here?
To empower many.
This is unbelievable.
It doesn't take a superhero to bring forces together. We all have the power to reach out
Let's go!
and help someone feel like they belong.
Pretty cool, huh?
We are stronger together.
It's important to get a flu shot each and every year because flu viruses are constantly changing and immunity from the vaccine decreases over time. Flu vaccines are updated annually to work against that year's viruses. The best time to get your shot is in the fall, but getting it later can still help. Getting a flu shot lowers your risk of getting sick, and if you do happen to get flu, it's likely to be less severe.
Hello, I'm Mr. John, and today I'm going to read See You Later, Alligator. This is a fun book that rhymes. It's written by Sally Hopgood. I'm going to start by showing you this map, which looks like a map of a zoo or another place where animals might live. And you see the different areas of the map with bodies of water and shelter. And this is called a compass rose. This shows the directions north, east, south, and west. So as I begin the story, I want you to just imagine that the main character is walking through this large area where other animals live. This book is See You Later, Alligator. Tortoise wanted to go on a big adventure to see the world, but he couldn't possibly leave without saying goodbye to all of his animal friends. See you later, alligator. I'll be a while, crocodile. Toodaloo, kangaroo. I'll call you soon, Mr. Raccoon. I'll be gone before noon, Mrs. Baboon, because it's a long way there, baby bear. You'll have to stay here, little dear. It's over that hill, Buffalo Bill. Across the wide sea, Bumblebee. Through marshy bog, Scruffy Dog. And desert dry, Butterfly. Look after the house, timid mouse. Don't look forlorn, unicorn. Forlorn means sad. The unicorn looks pretty sad there. The key's under the mat, kitty cat. I put money in the meter, anteater. I think he puts money in the meter so that the lights will stay on. I think that's what people had to do to have lights and electricity. So he put money in the meter. I'll be back, frog named Jack. Sooner than you think, Slinky Mink. I can't stop another day, Squawking Jay. There's so much more to see and do, Mr. New. So don't wait up, Buttercup. Looks like it's time to go, Slow Joe. It was the same every day. By the time Tortoise had said all of his goodbyes, the park gates were locked, and his big adventure to see the world would start all over again the very next morning. Is he still here? Yep. Hope you enjoyed the book. See you later, alligator. I'll see you next time. This is Mr. John saying, adios, amigos.
The Bronx Edulution. We are Bronx Strong.
What's up, Boogie Down? Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of Edulution. We spoke today about purpose, and we got an opportunity to meet one of the amazing staff members here at BronxNet, Miss Brittany Aubain, who is one of our on-site reporters who has followed her purpose with a very high sense of integrity as she seeks to relay stories and share the stories of the people around the world, but in a way that doesn't disrespect them or their families. And I have to say how much respect I have for that. I would like for everybody who saw this show to just take a moment and think about what is it that you're doing on a daily basis that brings you peace? What is it that you're doing on a daily basis that you feel is helpful and supportive to other people in your community? Now, because I'm a person who is into community service, because I'm a person who believes in helping other people, your choices might not be the same as mine. And I know a lot of times I rest in a space of helping others and doing things for other people. That might not be where you're coming from, but I would like for you to think about how do you incorporate that component into the things that you choose to do. Purpose isn't something that everybody wakes up on day one and understands. Sometimes we have to try out new careers. Sometimes we have to allow ourselves to fail. It is okay to allow yourself to take a chance. I always tell my nieces and nephews, shoot for the adventure. You never know what door might open up. If you're looking for a way to find your purpose, it might be as simple as volunteering. Maybe there's a nonprofit in your neighborhood or in your community that's doing something really important and special to you that you haven't tried yet. Maybe it's standing at a soup kitchen for the holidays, but it could also be volunteering to help at the library. There are so many different ways that we wind up stumbling upon that one seed that gets planted in our hearts that then changes our whole trajectory. I always support people who have mentors. I always encourage people to find a mentor. That person can be outside of the industry that you're currently in so that you can approach this person and they can hear you for who you are with a fresh perspective, right? So I do have community mentors, and I want to just take a moment to thank them, because at every stage of my life, as my career path has gone like this, like a little snake, and I wind up, where I fully feel like I'm being absolutely standing in my power and in my purpose, those people have been there for me to give me words of encouragement, words of redirect. They are people who don't just yes me to death, they question me. And another thing that Brittany brought up earlier is, why do you do what you do? That really is at the heart of purpose. That is at the heart of integrity. Of all of the things that are happening in the world right now to pull your focus, to steal your attention, to get you to keep swiping, to get you to keep clicking, I want to let you know how much I appreciate that you have given your attention to the Bronx Edulution. My name is Timothy Coleman. I am the Director of Education here at BronxNet. I am also your host for this show, our baby, the Bronx Edulution. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for joining us.